Mr. Mole. There we go. What a great name, isn't it, for a company putting replacement water mains in. I mean, it's just super cool name, that is. We've been used for many years. Obviously on a new site it's easy to do the dig, isn't it, you know, but obviously on this sort of application, for us to look at it, doing the dig, everything we do, just be a nightmare. So that's why we thought, right, let's phone Paul, let's get him in. Now obviously in this driveway we've scanned it, the cable, the mains cable coming into the house, we've got gas coming in, and the cable does this, it weaves down the house. Originally we were going to dig this section here. He's going to be putting in a 32mm main, and what we're going to do, you can see we've dug this down to a depth of 900, and that's the start of the first process. You can see we've got a bit ducted in down there as well, just about, I think you can see it. So obviously we'll run the water main through there. Now I think you can do a 32mm main, aren't you, mate?
Yep, so it's a slightly larger pipe for a 4-bedroom detached house, gives a little bit more flow. Costs involved are in the drilling really, so the material is not much more money, so better give a little bit more flow for more bathroom.
So that's the first section. We've dug the other side, we dug this out. Paul's then getting it all set up to start moulding through, and he's just done the first mould through here. And what we'll do, we'll talk you through the process and what's going to happen. This mould will run all the way along. You can see it's got here at the moment, running the mould through. I mean, there's some serious equipment, you know, he's having to use a massive compare there, so obviously there's a lot of hydraulic pressure behind the actual mould itself to then get it through. But originally we were going to dig down here, as I said earlier. We've got the water main out here at the moment. What Paul's going to do, he's going to use his mould, he's going to get right down in that trench down in there. You can see 900 deep that is, and the regulation is 800. We always go a little bit deeper. And what will happen is he'll mould all the way then through all to that point over there. As that blue main then runs in, which is running along here, it'll come to this point here. You can see actually where the mould's gone through there, can't you? See that hole there? And then he'll pipe the pipe then through over to here, and then what will happen, it will then come out the other side here, down into there. You can see the ducting that we've got, 900 deep, and then it will then tail up, come up to here, and that's where our new stopcock of the house is going to be, internal of the house inside the garage. What's some of this equipment, Paul? I mean,
to start, we have the compressor running 100 psi compressed air into an oil pot. We then feed compressed air and a fine mist of lubricating oil into the mould, and it's like a slow underground bullet, and it has compressed air coming off through an exhaust. So once I turn this air control on, the machine will fire up. We've just run the mould through this short run, and it's arrived, so we're now going to put it in reverse, and we're left with a perfect 45mm diameter hole to slide the pipe through. I'm now going to fire this mould, and we'll video it just coming back out of the ground.
Fit 25mm water main pipe. This is a pulley pipe that Paul's actually going to be putting in a 32 main. So if I get the two together, you can see it's got an end cap on here. If I put the two together, you can actually see the difference. And that's really all to do with flow rates, really, the amount of water that's going to be able to come into the house. It'll also help the combination boiler, which is going to be put in this property. The client's not going to do unvented, but they might if they can't service with the actual combi boiler that they've got.
Air and oil coming out the back end and the exhaust, that's just where the lubrication takes place.
It comes out the side of the piston, does it?
The rear end of the mould, the exhaust system,
yeah.
So yeah. A little bit slow reversing, but you get the principle of it.
You can see the back end, the exhaust coming out now.
The mould is effectively a slow underground bullet. We've got to hit a very small hole accurately, so we use this as a sighting gauge. This sighting gauge is the same height as that red and white pole, and we want to land the mould in the bottom of that pole. We put this frame onto the mould like this in the trench, and we're now making a rectangle between the base of that mould and the top of that pole. So the crosswise, this is a gun sight inside here. We set it up, put the mould in slowly, and we line it up onto that pole, and it should make a rectangle. And again, if you want to go uphill, you can go uphill, downhill, or left and right. But once the mole's on its way, we can't turn it left like a directional drilling machine. But this machine is specifically designed for domestic houses, doing a job. It's the smallest machine that Grundermatt make, a German company, and a Grundermatt is ground mole in German.
Massive warranties on these as well, is there?
Yeah, they look after you, with spares and repairs, but they're very well built machines, so we don't have any trouble with them, to be honest. So yeah. So we're going to basically put the compressor on now. I'm going to clamber into the hole, line everything up. Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 goes to get it lined up, because the lining up is the most important, because if you don't line it up properly, it's going to arrive somewhere where you don't want it. As a general rule, the mole will go straight through virgin clay, no problem. If there's a trench from another service, it can veer off sometimes. So this is where my experience comes in, and it's just listening to this machine as it goes through and watching it. But
so how long have you been doing this now, mate?
Since about 1992. So,
wow, so many years you've been doing this.
Yeah, quite a few water mains gone in over the years.
So what was the funniest moment you ever had doing this?
Oh, just numerous times we've
obstacles that have come up.
Oh, unbelievable. I think probably one of my favourite ones, well, it wasn't favourite at the time, we were looking at an old mill, and the mole stopped going halfway through the run, and when we dug down, there was a steel rod from an old stay off a telegraph pole, and the odds of the mole coming along and hitting a small metal stay and stopping it are just unbelievable. But these things happen. But yeah, it's not all plain sailing, and when you're setting a job up, you have to have plan A, B, C, D, E. And any of the molding people watching this video probably laugh at me because they've been there and done that. You have to just overcome obstacles in the day and get round it.
Well, that's the way with any, I think in our construction industry, we very much having this thing where the whole point of is getting over issues that you have and just finding solutions, isn't it, mate? You know, and I think that's really key. If anybody making a success is just getting over the issues, the problems that you have, and finding the solution. No, but so what we're going to do now, so you're going to sight this then through with the pole, as Paul said over here. He's got that set to that depth down there, and then he's just going to start the compressor up now. But what Paul's doing now, doing that magic eyesight through, obviously to get his mole set up.
So we're just having a basic line, before we put the mole on the ground, just getting an idea, feel for where the mole should be in the trench, where my feet should be, and we're going to put the machine in now and try and start it up and get it lined up.
Basically what you've done there, Paul, you've got it going, you've then laid it flat where you think it should be.
And I'm now lining it up. So at the moment, we're about...
You can see you're on a bit of an angle there,
yes, we're about 6 inches below where we need to be. Part of the skill set is knowing certain ground it can come offline. So sometimes you have to build in 6 inches of rise. This is just experience. But the secret of accuracy is being slow. So in this game, slow is fast. I'm going to line this up, get the mole with the steady rhythm, but you just wait and be patient. And that's the secret of getting this through on the right angle at the right place.
It's not going through at any big pace, and it's just still getting it lined up.
Bang on now. So, now obviously, you can hit electric cables with this, but we know the cable's here, we found it, it's out of our way. The hose is insulated, so it's quite safe to work as I am now. If that now comes up against an obstacle, like a drain or anything, it will slow it down. We can investigate if need be, because sometimes it can be buried manholes, pipelines, whatever. We do a good survey when we arrive. Sometimes it's unexpected. Somebody's block paved over a manhole, nothing you can do about that. But you always have a little investigate and check. And sometimes it can just be hard ground.
So you can see through this process, it's a lot quicker, more efficient. It's actually really cost effective as well, which is really key. I know for a fact the electric cable weaves down here instead of just coming straight through. You can probably see the red marks here, guys, where we've marked it and it comes across. So trying to do this with my digger over here would have been an absolute nightmare. So it just makes things a little bit easier, and that's why we then phone Paul. It just makes the whole process brilliant. So what's the time frame, Paul, for this coming through here? That would take what?
About an hour, I would think. We've got to reverse it. It might get quicker, maybe 3/4. And then we've got to reverse it, which can take another hour. But different days, different grounds. You can have neighbouring houses with different ground levels and everything, and water can affect it as well. The worst thing we can have sometimes is a new drain with pea gravel under it. The pea gravel drops into the bore and stops the machine going. So your clay is the ideal material.
so that 32mm main pull, how much of that's going to need to go through there, and what are the bits that you're going to be putting on there, mate? Because obviously you'll use Philmac fittings, do ya?
Yeah, so the jointing's all done by Philmac fittings. The pipe will be terminated with a lever valve. Now again, a lot of people are going to be watching this video thinking lever valves are much more efficient. You get a full bore with it straight the way through. It doesn't restrict the flow, and old stop taps tend to seize up. So we use these full bore lever valves.
I think these are absolutely brilliant, mate.
And if you've got the lady of the house at home on her own, or the children, there's a flood, it's so easy. Off. Yeah, now people just sit on top of the pipe like that inside the garage. At the moment, we've now got the pipe, we've got an insertion cone. There are 2 or 3 methods to get the pipe through that bore. Now the first run is quite short, so we should be able to push it. The second run, we attach the pipe to the air hose like a draw cord. So I'm now going to just, whilst that mole's slowly going through, to try and push this through into the bore. He's pushing him up, and then you can push through.
Great job this is. Right, this is it. That's where the magic comes in. Paul's been doing this so long. A tight old squeeze down there, isn't it, mate? It is.
I'm going to go in now. I'm going to tip a little bit of water in there to lubricate it.
Yeah, okay, mate.
If you can go and watch the other end, and I'll
cool, mate. Let's do that. Let's do that. Come in now. Beautiful. Get it. Look at that new water, mate. Paul's now put a bit of a chamfer on the front. It's pushing his pipe now through. Why did you put the insulation in? Just to have stop anything bending, freezing, or?
Yeah, basically frost protection as it comes up through the ground. The idea of the tube is that in the future, if the pipe needs changing again, the next load of us can just slide the pipe through it.
So now what Paul's doing is just bringing the rest of the water main through to get it to relevant height. I assume that's the duct
tape. Seal.
Yeah, to seal it all up. Good shot.
Whilst we're doing this, I am listening to the mole, watching it, so pure instinct, but you can tell by the exhaust note what it's doing. Right,
okay, awesome, top job there, mate.
So that'll push against the wall like that, and we'll stop tap on the top in a minute.
Beautiful, mate.
And we'll seal the bottom end of the duct in a minute as well. Drill a couple of holes to clamp the pipe to the wall. So it's put the spirit level on, it's got a little marker pen, which is quite handy, so hopefully it'll work, it hasn't run out. So we're going to put a little dot in. You can see the 2 little dots on the wall, nice and easy. So there's the old pencil and whatever. So yeah, now I'm going to put the drill in the wall, just some drilling. In this job, we always keep the van keys in the box because they quite often go in the hole. At the end of the day, when you've buried your keys, it's no joy. So keep your keys safe. That's my moral of the story.
Screws.
There's another clip.
2 raw plugs.
So what we're doing now, putting some clips on, put some spacers behind, because with plumbing joints, it's most important to try and get everything in line, because if a pipe's at an angle, it tends to cause a leak and whatever. So, you know, and for plumbers, a little drip is the most annoying thing out, so try and get it done. So put the small spacers on. Okay. There we go, nicely ready to go. At the moment, the mole's running through, but we're listening to the thing, but we're also feeling the vibration in our feet. As the mole's rocking through the ground, it sends vibration. And again, you can tell by how strong the vibration is. The mole comes up offline, it can get a lot stronger and shape the lock pane. We go to 800 as well because you get ground heat with certain depths of ground, so you need to be careful. So very shallow ground, it can heave the ground up, which you don't want. So I just follow that vibration in the ground. I'm watching the marker tapes, I'm listening to the compressor, so we just keep this running down for the hour and just keep checking it all the way through. But whilst we're doing that, we're trying to do a few little jobs like fitting the stop tap and just keep the day moving on, because if we get to darkness and we're in trouble, and the customer needs water.
Now, somebody was telling me, in fact, I seem to remember a long time ago when we ran a load of 50mm, we had to chlorinate the pipe.
Yes, bigger bores.
Bigger bore, you
commercial, yeah.
So it was one of the things that I didn't realise. It was the first time I'd ever come up against a bigger water main, and Seventh Trent said, "Oh, Tony, you'll have to organise the chlorination." Now, is that something that you do or don't do, you don't get involved with?
We have done it in the past. I don't personally do it, but like all things, there's a man who can. And we use a company in Coventry called Hydrochem UK, and they specialise, they go all over the UK, chlorinated tanks, pipes, whatever. They obviously carry the insurance, and you know that it's signed off by them, so we do that.
So you can see here, Paul's got the tape there, which is signifying
the arrival point of the mole. So the first tape is when the mole arrives at the other end.
Okay.
And the second tape is our cut-off tape, because sometimes the mole can miss the hole, and what we don't want to do is carry on into surfaces in the pavement. So we must stop the machine if we can't see it.
So the first one is he should be at that hole.
Yeah.
The second one is if you can't see it within the first one, you knock it off.
Stop and have a dig, basically. Turn it on, turn it down. Right, there you go. Okay, we've got to the other end now.
Okay, buddy. Zoom over to the other end.
The mole should arrive at the base of that pole or somewhere near. You can feel it on the end of that spade there.
Yeah.
So
zoom in now, let's have a look.
let that come in a bit further, then we'll put it in reverse. So we've got a proper way to do that. Yeah. So to reverse it backwards. But that's a good job done. We're where we want to be at the correct depth. This equipment, although it's a great way of doing the job, we've probably got £30,000 of equipment here to do this job today. The service on this machine is about £600 and a new nose cone every 6 months. So we put it into reverse now, we just twist the hole left, and there we go, it's coming backwards now.
That's great, that is, mate, isn't it?
Nice and safe. We've covered it off.
That's sweet, that is, mate.
That sharp nose gives us the accuracy, and if the machine gets worn, that's when you get inaccurate. Now, a lot of people do this molding, quite often they can't do a long run like that. They dig a hole halfway, and they don't have the equipment. But if you invest in the equipment, you can do the longer runs.
So all we've got to do now is pull that new 32 main, pull it all the way through here. Paul will then do the connection down here as well, which will be great, to the actual main 7-thread stopcock.
The biggest problem on the way back is that exhaust on the back of the machine can block up with clay, and then again you've got to try and restart the machine. But we keep watching it all the time, this job. Watch, listen, don't go off and have your tea break. Keep watching it, you know.
Paul, what do you always recommend to put around now when you fill this? Do you just put sand, obviously?
Soft material. If you'd lay in a trench, you would normally coat in sand, whatever. These little launch pits, soft clay, but what you've got to watch is no stones go onto the pipe and rub through them over a long period of time. So yeah, whatever you've got to hand.
Yeah, it's normally we throw a load of building sand in there, up a good 6 inches past, and then we'll do the same the other side, and then we'll actually fill it with a bit of MOT then, Paul, all right? Is there different types of taps, is there, mate?
Yes, some are a basic stop tap, and others have a test port in them. So again, if we have a job where a customer has low flow, we can get the water authority, if there's a test port, they can pressure and flow. And normally if the old pipe's got damaged over the years, then the pressure and flow is fine here, but not at the other end. Then we know to replace the pipe. In this instance, it's an old lead pipe, so it's just a sensible time with all the building works to change it. But a lot of our work is to increase the flow to make the new modern boilers work properly. This is effectively the engine of the car, the water main, and a lot of people try and do it without it to save the money, and then have to get it done afterwards because the new boiler just doesn't work. But again, additional cost sometimes.
And this is a plastic connection on here, is it, Paul?
Most water mains have now been refurbished by Severn Trent or the local water authority in the road. So when we turn up, there's normally a plastic pipe to join onto. They do different schemes. If there's an old lead one, they will change it free of charge.
There you go.
Generally, we're fine.
Don't always get something free, do you guys?
Okay, so here we are now then. We've run the mole through to the launch pit at the other end. We've reversed our mole out, as you saw earlier in the previous clip, and we've pushed the air hose through. I have these hoses specially made for me. They're like a double-ended one, so I can clip on this mandrel to either end and pull the pipe through either way. So what we're going to do is screw this mandrel, or carrot some people call it, or we should really call it a person drill if we're going to be politically correct. So we'll screw that into the pipe, make sure it's nice and tight. There we go, and then basically our air hose clips into here like this. And what we're going to do now is just gently push this pipe through. I might put a little bit of water in to lubricate it as we go. So you like to just start drawing the hose now nice and gently. Just pull it quite quickly to start with. And so here we go then. So we're going down here now. Hose is going in, the mandrel's in the pipe. Okay, right, we're just going to hold it there for a second. Just hold for a second. What I'm going to do now is just tip a little bit of water, get it wet feet. but just a little bit of water, just when clay, the pipe sticks to it. So I'm going to push now, and that's sliding beautifully now. The other end is just being gently drawn out. This is absolutely perfect. So make sure I don't kink the end of this pipe as we bring it through. But that little bit of water just makes all the difference. Right, that's just a rod. I'm just going to push, give it a good push now as it pops through. Yeah, that's it. So there we go. And that's the pipe pushed to the board. If you go to the other end, you'll see where the pipes come out. So what I've got to do now is turn off the water, joint the new to the old bit of pipe on the 7/20 stopcock, and then we'll put the stopcock on the other end and test the water flow. Okay, so we've obviously installed the pipe as you saw earlier. We've now turned off the water, cut the original stop tap pipe, put that black 32 to 25mm joiner in the hole. We've made sure with the red tape that the pipe is fully pushed home into the joint. So that's ready to go now. So we're now going to go to the garage and fit the stopcock onto the other end of the pipe, or the lever valve, shall I say, rather than stopcock. So that's the next part of the job. So here we are in the garage with our pipe and its duct all sealed. We've got our lever valve and our sort of test pipe made up. We've put some clips on the wall, so push that into there like that. And we now need to sort of flex this into place and cut the pipe to length, so somewhere around there. There's a little bit of water come out this pipe now, because we just did a little flush test a minute ago just to make sure water went through okay. So put a 32mm insert into the pipe. Okay, that supports the pipe when the joint goes round. We're going to put this joint on here and tighten it by hand, and then we use our bricks and our footprints just to hold against ourselves. So there we go. So just do that nice and tight. Seal the joint. One important factor when you're installing pipes, plastic pipes especially, if you're dragging pipe through the ground, you can get score marks on the outside, and then the rubber O-ring won't seal, so you can get a minute thing. It mainly happens when you drill through a brick and you can get score marks, so it's always best to protect a pipe or tape it if you've got any doubts. Just a little tip for you there. Right, so we're going to push this into the clips. Right, there we go, we'll snap the clips shut. When this hole gets filled in, that black duct needs to be up against the wall, and obviously it's flexing the pipe. We don't want that. So what I've done, just made a little bit of wood here, just to push this in until the builder's filled the hole in. So I've now wedged that into place. So basically once the spoil and soil's put around the black pipe, it'll hold it in place quite nicely. So we're going to turn the water on now, and then we'll flush test the pipe. Check no water comes out the joint, it's not pouring out. Sometimes O-rings can get a little bit distorted, and best will in the world, you've done the best you can do, but the joint leaks, so you have to start again. That all appears to be okay at the moment, so we're fully turned on. We'll go back half a turn, we'll pop the lid back. Right, we'll find ourselves a bucket and we'll flush test the pipe. Again, this may seem trivial, but it's an important part of the job. Obviously you've pulled a pipe through the mud, you can get little bits of debris, sometimes a bit of swarf if you've cut the pipe with a hacksaw, and the last thing you want it to do is go into the plumbing system of the house or block a ball valve, because that's another couple of hours on your day. So we're going to give this pipe a little flush down. Might get a little bit of air come through, might get a little bit of water. So there you go, it's good when the water comes through, and there we go. The whole purpose of putting a new pipe in, one is to get rid of the sort of lead pipe content, the other is to increase flow and pressure. Now, people get confused with flow and pressure. The pressure is set by the water company in the road, and there's nothing we can do about that. It averages between, it's minimum 1 bar up to about 4 bar, the average probably being 2 to 3 bar. So that's set by the water company. What we can enhance is the flow. So by putting a bigger diameter pipe in, we can allow more water to flow quickly. Our average job when we start is about 15 litres per minute is what we're getting out of the tap. And really, most modern plumbing taps and showers run about 15 litres a minute. So ideally, we want sort of 30 to 40 litres a minute to run 2 to 3 showers, or 2 showers and a toilet or whatever. So the simple way to measure your flow, and it's incredibly simple, we're going to see how long it takes to fill a 10 litre bucket. So I'm going to tip this bucket out and we'll start afresh and time it, and that'll give us a calculation. Okay, so we're going to do our flow test now then. So we've got our empty bucket, we've got the water, so we'll put the water on. Right, stopwatch is on the go. Right, so how quickly that bucket fills up. So that was running at 18 seconds, so roughly we can fill 3 10-litre buckets in just under a minute, so we're pulling there about 34 litres a minute, which is just about what my average job would be, so I'm quite happy with that. Sometimes we get 20 litres, it can be a little bit disappointing, but other times you can get 60 litres, but that's exceptional. But average of 30 litres, we're getting 33 there, so this will run this combination boiler in the 2 bathrooms perfectly.
I want to say a massive thank you to Paul for coming to do this water main for us. If ever you're in this location, Warwickshire area, just look him up on the internet. That's his company name, Mr. Mole, great name. He does all the replacement water mains, whether you've got lead or anything else or a burst main, just give him a bout. He's a really proactive guy. There's nothing he won't do to help you out, guys, so make sure you check him out. You've been watching Bill with A&E. My name's Tony, so if you enjoyed the video, leave a comment, like and subscribe. All right guys, take care, see you soon.